Blue Beetle number 6, written by Tony Bedard, art by Ig Guara. We left off last issue with Jaime basically banishing Brenda's aunt to the Shadow Realm, and Paco breaking out of the hospital and becoming Red Beetle, I guess? He's hunting down Blue Beetle for whatever reason, probably because he killed him. So this issue opens up, Brenda's come into Jaime's room, and she's just screaming about how Paco's gone. And I just want to point out that Jaime gives a little bit of narration here, being like, I have dreamed of so long for Brenda being in my room, but the two things that were different are, one, Brenda's not crying, and two, I'm not the one who's topless, because he's changing clothes right in the middle of this. It's a cute little moment. Anyway, so he plays dumb. He's like, what, you mean he's dead? And she's like, no, he's missing. Somebody broke into his room and took him. And so Jaime's trying to cover up the Blue Beetle symbol on his back before she can see it. And she's just freaking out because she's also trying to contact her aunt, and her aunt's not answering either. So she has no idea what's going on, and like who the people who were attacking them, like why they were, what did Paco get into. And as she's trying to vent to Jaime is just thinking to himself and also talking to the Beetle, just like, how do I like try to explain myself? Because she knows, she may have seen that like I went with her aunt before. How do we explain where the aunt went? Blah blah blah. And as he's zoning out, Brenda just like freaks out on him because he's not paying attention. And he's like, whoa, I'm just trying to figure out like what's going on. Think this through. Like, okay, are you sure that Paco snuck out and that he wasn't like taken? And she's like, he had open heart surgery. I don't think he would sneak out. I feel like he had to have been taken. And then the doorbell goes off, and she's like, oh man, what if it's them? And he's like, I don't think villains ring doorbells, but just stay here. And as he goes to the door, he sees it's Paco, and Paco looks really bad, like sunken in cheeks and eyes. He's not doing good. And his voice is like robotic in some way. It's just saying you. And he says how the organic host blames you for betraying him. And we see the red Beetle armor going over his body. And based solely off of back matter, I know this guy's name is Thorax, but if I call him that, that's why. So anyway, he turns into his full suit, punches out Jaime, and says how Kajida is relieved of duty. And Brenda hears all the crashing and everything, comes out, and just sees Thorax and Blue Beetle beating up each other. And Blue Beetle's like, where did this guy come from? And the suit's like, I tried to warn you. When you put that thing inside of Paco in order to save his life, it activated some extra hoo-ha security measure, whatever, that basically recognizes that I am not in control of you, and therefore it's trying to eliminate me so that it can complete the mission. So Blue Beetle just trying to stay alive at this moment and also keep Brenda safe. Gives the suit permission to blow him outside but not kill him. Still can't kill him. And he looks over to Brenda, and Brenda's, again, just freaking out. And he doesn't even bother trying to explain himself right now. He's like, all right, that's whatever. I'll deal with that later. So he goes and he fights Paco some more. Apparently his parents just got home at this point, and like they're fighting on the hood of their car. And they're like, oh, we got to get inside and get Jaime out. We got to protect everyone. And so Paco shoots some goo, some slime or something onto Blue Beetle's like buster cannon, and he's unable to get it off, and he can't shoot through it, so his primary means of attack is gone. Family runs in trying to get out Jaime. They can't find him anywhere. So they're like, all right, what is Jaime up to? Back to the fight. Red Beetle keeps on throwing punches. The other arm turns into a cannon, which also gets covered in the slime. And it's just he's completely coated. He's completely helpless. And keeps on Thorax keeps yelling about the mission. And Jaime's like, I don't even know what your damn mission is. And so Thorax tells him straight up, infiltrate the target world, disable planetary defenses, prepare the world for conquest. How do you not know this? And so Blue Beetle's like, I mean, I kind of thought that's what it was. I was just hoping not, so I didn't ask. And so the suit relays that the organic host, Paco, thinks that Jaime is pathetic. And so Blue Beetle finally throws a punch against Paco, saying, screw you. And he starts getting angry just because, like, Paco keeps looking down on him. And he's like, you always treat me like I wasn't good enough, like I was lucky to have you. But you know what? You're a high school dropout. Have fun conquering the world with that. Now who's pathetic? But regardless, as soon as he says that, he's like, you know what? I'm not fighting you anymore. And he's like, you surrender your life? He's like, no, I'm surrendering control. So he talks mentally to the suit. He's like, the suit's like, you're surrendering to me? I finally get to control you? And he's like, no, just play along and make your voice sound like mine. So he goes in and he grabs Brenda and he just drags her out into the fight. And he throws her down on the ground and he backhands her. And he says, like, you recognize this girl? You see her? This was someone who meant something to my organic host, but now she is nothing to me. So he opens up the Buster cannon and is about to attack her. And he's like, do you need more proof? Or is this enough? And because Paco is inside of the thorax suit, he also cares for Brenda. The scarab that's surrounding him is like, all right, good enough. He cancels the replacement protocol and turns just back into Paco. And Brenda looks up at Blue Beetle and is just like, who are you? Why did you try attacking Paco? Why won't you just leave us alone? And Blue Beetle, of course, hurt by this. He realizes that all of this, his house being blown up, his family being attacked, is all because of him. So he gets in the Blue Beetle suit and he just flies away. And he's like, we're going somewhere else. And the suit's like, where? And he's like, anywhere else. But I'm not going to hurt my family anymore. So they're just going far away. And that is where the trade ends. I really enjoy this series. I think it did have a few falters in terms of it. It set up some plots that I feel like like that whole thing with the Reach being just outside of Earth and then getting a call for the Blue Lanterns. I feel like that was a setup just in case this book was on the chopping block and didn't get past 8 issues. And they were like, okay, if we don't get there, we're going to do the whole Reach trying to invade thing, and then we'll just wrap it all up there. So it's a nice little bow. But because they did get the extra issues, it just kind of feels like they brought it up for the sake of nothing now. Like, we'll eventually get to it at some point down the road. Same thing with the Ant, where I feel like the Ant was kept alive just a little bit longer than she probably should have been, just because, well, we're not going to kill her off earlier if we're just going to get canceled in the end. So we would save that killing her off for the last issue. But now that they're getting more issues, it's like, all right, let's kill her off already so that way we can focus on some other stuff. I just feel like this entire book was early issues structured around the fact of they could be canceled at any minute. And as such, it kind of suffered a little bit. But regardless, this particular issue, I really do enjoy. I think it did a solid look at like Jaime as a character compared to Paco, because Paco has just been a recurring character throughout this book that's influenced Jaime and how he sees himself throughout the entire thing, of like not quite as strong, not quite as likable, not quite as everything else. So it's a good parallel there to be able to say like, no, he's the Blue Beetle suit and he managed to outsmart Paco. That's where his strength lies, of just being able to outthink the opponent. So overall, I like it. I'm giving it a 7.5. That may be more representative of Blue Beetle as a whole, but I'm going to ascribe it to this particular issue. So I'm very much looking forward to seeing where we go from here in the continuing adventures of Jaime Reyes.